Hello everyone, it's Olivia here, aka Story Minded, and I'm finally back with another creative writing video. I'm planning on doing a mini series to help GCSE students develop creative writing skills. I know this is like an element or a part of the English language papers and exams, but I don't feel it's an area that's necessarily explored that much. And creative writing, I've spoken about it on my channel before, it's one of those skills that you really do need to practice to be able to sort of answer those questions and be comfortable attempting those questions in the exam. If you're not familiar with sort of practicing creative writing, I can appreciate that a lot of students seem to really struggle with that portion of the exam because their brains are not used to imagining and creating things and responding to writing prompts. So I know for a lot of students it can cause them to freeze. So I want to sort of just create this mini series using this very handy creative writing workbook that I bought for my degree that I never actually used during my degree. But it's got some really useful creative writing exercises in here, and just to start allowing you to hopefully practice creative writing skills. So the first one I'm going to look at, or the first sort of technique I'm going to talk about today, is all linked, or seems to be linked with, just starting to practice openings and actually starting to respond to some prompts and things like that. So this technique we're going to look at today is called free writing. And it says, in free writing, a term coined by Peter Elbow, we permit ourselves to associate freely, that is, to write down the first words that occur to us, then whatever that makes us think of, following the train of thought wherever it goes. It can feel uncomfortable, especially at first. You may feel that what you are writing is silly or unseemly or banal. You may feel a strong urge to stop or control it, but don't. You will often be surprised, even delighted, by the liveliness and power of the ideas and words that emerge. So, the method. How is it done? Let the words tumble out. Write anything at all. What's on your mind? What you notice. And then they've got an example here of what free writing can sound like. Like I'm now looking at the tree outside my window. Tangles of dark branches. Spooky sometimes. But soon it will just explode into pink blossoms, fantastic pinkness for a few weeks before the wind shakes it all away. The sadness of trees, inherent sadness, but more mournful when there are no trees, like that place in Donegal, rocks and peat forever, no trees outlines against the sky. Remember V, after the stroke pointing at the cactus that had lost its flowers. Look, she said. It brings no more spoons, no more blooms. Her lost language and the new one she puts together, and the way it makes sense. So free writing seems to almost link with this whole idea that we talk about in creative writing, known as, or a sort of particular style of writing known as stream of consciousness. Writers like Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is probably the most famous for sort of using this technique, and you just kind of go with the flow and write whatever comes into your head. So they have a writing prompt that I'm going to share with you, and then I'm going to read how I responded to the prompt. And it's not an amazing piece of writing by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a little first draft. It's got no editing to it. It's just to sort of try and show you that this is all about practice and it doesn't have to be perfect. And this book also talks about getting rid of that sort of obsession or idea of having a perfect piece of writing and perfectionism, especially under exam conditions and the stress and time pressure. Examiners aren't expecting you to produce a perfect piece of creative writing. That would be impossible given the time frame you have, but it's more so just trying to start developing these skills to have the confidence to at least tackle the question, because they're worth a good amount of marks. So the activity for this free writing exercise, it says choose 3 or 4 of the following, but you don't have to, you can do however many you want, of the following beginnings, and free write for a few minutes about each one. So they have, as you've got a couple of starters that you can use. So the first one is, the truth is, I wish I had said, I need proof, I went outside and, for the first time ever, it surprised me when it was no use pretending. A long time ago, I turned the corner and there, coming towards me was. That smell reminds me of one summer's day. And then it says, read over your free writes, underline any words, phrases, or lines that interest you, start to build a stock of material for possible development. But I'm now going to share, I responded to the first one, which was the truth is. And if I just get mine up, okay. The truth is I have anxiety. Anxiety. An entity that lives in the attic of my brain, never allowing my heart to beat regularly like the lapping waves of a beach I won't tread on. Xenophobia is the irrational fear of someone based on their race. I fear people in general. I fear their thoughts. How do they perceive me? Do they accept me? Can they tell the daily storm that rages inside? I wish I could just live my life without this eternal shadow. Each time I wake up to a feeling of pressure coiling around my chest, I feel my being sink. I never asked for it. No one ever did. Tentatively, I place one foot in front of the other and tune into glimpses of nature in this frantic urban landscape. Snatches of birdsong, trees waving their ancient branches, and blades of grass splitting through the concrete. You wonder why this helps, or you may not care. But if sharing has the power to assist even one person, then it will be worth it. It's a technique called grounding, to anchor your negative physical symptoms, such as shallow breathing, into something neutral or possibly positive. So, sort of when I was just responding to the first prompt of the truth is, I really liked the idea of sort of having a bit of repetition in my writing to really focus in on obviously exploring anxiety, which is something that it's not fiction. This is a piece of non-fiction writing. It's something that I do have. And took me a long time to sort of acknowledge that I have. So what I was trying to do with the piece was sort of playing with the spelling of anxiety, and I wanted to sort of, obviously I would need to structure it differently and stuff, but I was sort of trying to go from like beginning a sentence with A and then begin a sentence with N and then X and then I, and sort of trying to, through my writing, sort of almost like what you see in acrostic poems, where even though this is a prose piece, but the idea of having the spelling play out, I thought was quite an interesting idea in the writing. But it's just sort of to give an example of like, it doesn't have to be perfect, and even just say, for example, if you do this like for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes, however long it takes you, if you practice writing regularly each day and make it a bit of a habit or something you do before you go to bed, it can really help you. And the more you engage with creative writing, hello, sorry, I was getting distracted, my kitten was just appearing from under my bed. Hello, Willow. It can really help you to not get that sort of writer's block or freeze in an exam when you're given prompts. I think you usually have a choice between two creative writing prompts and you have to come up with a response. If you're not used to just naturally doing that, or if you don't write regularly, it can be quite jarring to suddenly be expected to produce a piece of writing, whereas if you have some practice in before the exam, it's not such a big deal because your brain naturally it sort of goes into those pathways of like, oh, I can pluck an idea from here, I can use this technique, I can do this, and it makes it so much more seamless, and then you're not wasting half of your exam time panicking or thinking, what am I going to write about, because you're used to responding to different prompts. So I hope this series is going to help. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below in the comments. I'm also going to link my tutor email on this video in the description. And what I will do, if you send any bits of creative writing or even a response to this prompt, I will happily, when I have time, I will happily read them and give you feedback, and sort of highlight the strengths of your writing and suggest areas for improvement. Anyway, if anyone's watched this, thank you, and I look forward to making another video. Bye!